My name is Marjorie Calder, 27 years old. Birthdays in my family have always been performances, not celebrations. But that night, I didn't realize the show was about to turn into a trial. The restaurant glowed like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, wine glasses whispering against porcelain. My parents were already seated when I arrived, my mother shimmering in sequins, my father checking his Rolex as though he had more important things to time than my existence. Happy birthday, sweetheart, Mom said, air kissing my cheek without letting her perfume smudge. You look tired. Thanks, Mom, I murmured. They ordered champagne before I even sat down. They talked about their upcoming Amalfi Coast trip, their new Tesla, Dad's golf handicap, and Mom's tennis lessons at the country club. I smiled, the kind of smile you wear when your soul is trying not to roll its eyes. I'd lost my job the week before, graphic designer, small agency, downsized. I'd told them. They barely reacted. You'll figure it out, Mom said at the time, the sound of her keyboard clicks louder than her sympathy. Now she glanced at me over her flute of champagne. You did bring dessert, right? You always make that cake. No cake, I said. Not much of a celebration this year. She sighed. Oh, Marjorie, you can't let little setbacks define you. You just need better energy. Before I could reply, the restaurant door opened and the room changed temperature. My grandfather, Robert Calder, entered, tall, silver-haired, commanding the kind of silence only power earns. His assistant, Michelle, followed a step behind, holding a sleek briefcase. My parents froze like statues. There's my favorite granddaughter, he boomed, striding toward me. Come here and give me a real hug, not the air kiss nonsense. Grandpa, I gasped, standing. You came? Wouldn't miss it for the world. He sat beside me, eyes bright with the sharp intelligence of someone who's seen everything and forgives little. So, Marjorie, how's work? I hesitated. I got laid off last week. Mom's foot pressed mine under the table, a warning. Grandpa's brow furrowed. Laid off? And you're reviewing those quarterly reports on your investment portfolio, I hope? Market's been kind to your trust fund lately. Silence. What trust fund? I asked, half laughing. His expression froze. The trust fund I set up when you were born. $1 million. Transferred to your control at 25. You didn't know? My parents went white. Dad's hand clenched his wine glass. Mom blinked fast, that trembling smile she wore when cornered. Care to explain, Grandpa said, voice suddenly cold steel, why my granddaughter knows nothing about her trust? There must be some misunderstanding, Dad croaked. Michelle was already pulling her tablet from the briefcase. Mr. Calder, I can contact Mr. Anderson right now. Do it. Mom started whispering. Robert, please, not here. Let's not make a scene. You already made one, he said softly, just not the kind you can walk away from. Within 20 minutes, we were moved into a private dining room. The clink of dishes outside sounded like a world we'd been exiled from. Michael Anderson, my grandfather's attorney, arrived in a tailored gray suit, shaking my hand gently before opening his briefcase. Miss Calder, he began, the trust fund was established with $1 million at your birth. With investment growth over 27 years, it should now total approximately $3.4 million. My mouth went dry. $3.4 million? He nodded. Your parents were trustees until you turned 18. They were required to inform you and transfer control by 25. Grandpa's voice was low and dangerous. Can you pull up the current balance? Michael tapped on his tablet. His face stiffened. The current balance is approximately $200,000. The room imploded. What? I shouted. Where's the rest? He read from his papers, calm as a surgeon. Withdrawals over 7 years. Mortgage payoff, $450,000. Vehicle purchases, $280,000. 2 Tesla Model S vehicles. Home renovation, $320,000. Investment in Victoria Calder's real estate venture, $500,000. Total loss. Additional expenses, European trips, Caribbean cruises, and the purchase of a property in Malibu for $1.8 million. Each word hit like a hammer. Mom's face crumpled into an imitation of tears. Dad just stared at his hands. You gave me a book about financial literacy for graduation, I whispered, shaking. While you were burning my future, Mom hiccuped. We were managing it. We're your parents. We just thought You thought what? Grandpa cut in, voice now low enough to make the air tremble. That theft becomes stewardship if you share a last name? Dad finally looked up. We were trying to keep the family stable. By bankrupting it? Grandpa snapped. Then he turned to Michael. The apartment, Pacific Heights. I gave them the keys for Marjorie's 25th birthday. Michael flipped pages. Yes, 2-bedroom, purchased fully paid, currently rented out. Income, approximately $4,500 per month. My breath caught. You've been collecting rent on my apartment? Mom's diamond necklace glittered like a noose. We needed it. It was just sitting empty. Give me the keys, Grandpa said quietly. For a moment, no one moved. Then Mom fumbled in her purse, hands trembling, and pulled out a small keyring with 2 keys and a silver fob. She held them for a long second, like she was holding on to her last piece of control, before sliding them across the table. Grandpa passed them to me. These are yours. 2 years late. The metal felt warm from her touch, but in my palm it might as well have been on fire. He stood, his voice iron and final. Michelle, full forensic audit. Every account, every transaction. Freeze everything they own. Yes, Mr. Calder. Mom gasped. You can't do this, we're family. Family doesn't steal from family, he said. Get out. They rose, broken, aged by shame. The click of Mom's heels was hollow this time. Dad didn't even look up. When the door shut behind them, the silence left behind was enormous. My breath shuddered out. Grandpa came around the table and hugged me, his cologne faintly citrus and ash. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have seen this coming. How could they do this to me? I sobbed. I don't know, but we'll fix what we can. For now, you have choices. This is grand theft. Do you want to press charges? My fingers tightened around the keys. The word prison hovered between us, heavy and impossible. I opened my mouth, but before I could answer, Michelle's phone buzzed. She checked it, face paling. Mr. Calder, she said quietly, I found something. Plane tickets to Costa Rica, purchased 3 days ago, both of their names. They were going to run. They had come to my birthday dinner, already halfway gone. My vision blurred, pulse pounding in my ears. I need time, I whispered. Take all the time you need, Grandpa said. Outside, the city lights blurred into streaks as Michelle drove me home. When I stepped into my cramped apartment, the air smelled like old takeout and survival. My roommate Madison sat up from the couch. Hey, she said. You okay? You look like you saw a ghost. I think I saw the truth. She poured me a glass of cheap red wine. I held up the keys in my hand. They were going to flee with everything. Madison's eyes widened. Your parents? Yeah. She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered, You always said birthdays in your family were performances. Maybe this one was the encore. I laughed, one sharp, broken sound. Maybe. But later, when I lay in bed, the keys still on my nightstand, I realized they weren't just metal. They were proof that the lock had finally turned, and everything we'd kept hidden behind family walls had come spilling out. The next morning, Michelle met me at a corner table in a coffee shop that smelled like burnt sugar and ambition. She had a laptop, 2 folders, and a steady voice that somehow made devastation feel manageable. I'll walk you through what we've frozen, she said, tapping open a dashboard of numbers that didn't know the meaning of mercy. Personal accounts, the line of credit linked to the trust, the Malibu property, both Teslas, the boat. She glanced up. It's a 40-foot yacht. I nodded like the sentence belonged to someone else's life. And the apartment? Intact. Leases terminate end of the month. The doorman expects you. She hesitated. Marjorie, I know this is clinical, but ritualizing facts can stop them from owning you. We list what happened. We fix what can be fixed. We put the rest in a folder marked lesson and lock it. Is there a folder marked revenge? Michelle's mouth tightened, a flicker of empathy. There's a folder marked justice. Pressing charges is your right. There's also restorative pathways if you ever want those. No one has to be pure villain or pure saint for you to protect yourself. She slid a printed ledger across the table. Dates marched down the page with the calm cruelty of a metronome. Look at the pattern. They started small. They tested your silence. I thought of my birthday candles over the years, my mother's glittering laugh, my father clapping my shoulder, 1,000 tiny tests. No one flinched. They were always counting on me to be polite. People confuse graciousness with consent, she said. You're allowed to choose a different script. The doorman at the Pacific Heights building said my last name like it meant something. Mr. Calder called ahead, he said with that professional warmth that made strangers feel expected. He handed me an envelope with a fob and a folded note. Welcome home, kiddo. Take your time. R. The lobby smelled like lemon oil and quiet money. Upstairs, the key slid into a lock that should have turned 2 years ago. Inside was a life stage for someone else. Oatmeal sofa, glass coffee table, a throw blanket, the exact green of sea glass. The bay was a sheet of hammered silver beyond monumental windows. In the second bedroom, a tidy desk, a chair angled to the view, a faint circle on the wood where a coffee cup used to sit. In a kitchen drawer, I found 3 lease agreements and a mechanical pencil. Rent, $4,500 a month. My name on the deed, not on the agreement. I stood in the middle of the living room and let the anger come without apology. I saw myself on nights I ate instant noodles so I could make my student loan payment. I saw my mother's diamond necklace catching candlelight as she told me to cultivate better energy. I saw my father's watch face gleaming while I asked for help and got a book about saving. I pressed both palms to the window glass and let the cold steady me. Madison arrived breathless, with 2 grocery bags, because she believed grief should always be accompanied by snacks. Oh my God, she said, turning in a slow circle. Marjorie, this is... She searched for a word that wasn't obscene. Unreal. It's mine, I said, quietly testing the sentence. It was mine. She unpacked crackers and strawberries like staging communion. We can get your stuff this weekend, she said. You know I love you, but your mattress is a war crime. We're not bringing it. I laughed, something loosening in my chest. We ate on the floor because the silence felt less lonely when filled with crunches. The afternoon light crawled across the wall like it was measuring the room for me. When Madison left, I walked the apartment like a museum guard on the night shift, memorizing the footprints of my future, where a plant could live, where a bookshelf would save a wall from looking naked, where a desk might face the view without turning my back on the door. The calls started that evening, numbers I knew and numbers I didn't, all rehearsing the same minor key. Please call us back. It's your mother. Your father and I need to talk. We're family. We can explain. I didn't answer. I let voicemail collect their versions of me. Ungrateful, cruel, misled by Grandpa, too dramatic to understand how real life works. I turned my phone face up on the counter anyway, a quiet rebellion against years of secrets face down. By the 3rd day, the freeze orders had reshaped their world. Michelle updated me in calm bullet points. The Malibu listing went live. The main house had a viewing. The bank repossessed both Teslas before lunch. We've recovered roughly $2 million in liquidatable assets, she said. The rest depends on markets and time. She studied my face. You sleeping? Enough, I lied. That night, Grandpa's name lit my screen, then blinked off before I could swipe. The text came 2 minutes later from Michelle. He's okay. Minor scare. Doctor kept him overnight out of caution. He is very cranky and forbids me from telling you until morning. I'm ignoring him. Visit tomorrow if you can. The word scare cracked something I'd been keeping braced. The next morning, I brought coffee to the hospital and watched my grandfather pretend he wasn't attached to machines. He grumbled about the food, the fluorescent lights, the tyranny of rest. When Michelle left to take a call, he took my hand. Don't let my age make you rush your decisions, he said, eyes clear. Mercy chosen in panic curdles into regret. So does punishment. I don't know what I want, I admitted. You want to be someone you respect when you're alone at night, he said, when the applause and outrage fade. When I stepped outside, my phone buzzed again. Mom. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message in the parking lot. Her voice had lost the polish. We're at the Bayview Motel, she said, each word carefully unadorned. Room 214. Your father found a job at an insurance office. I'm answering phones. We're trying. Please. There was a pause where her pride used to be. I know you don't owe us anything. I just want you to know where we are. Night fell like a curtain. I sat on the floor of my new living room amid open boxes and made a list on a yellow notepad because lists are bridges over storms. Utilities, locks, change of address, paint, desk, rug. Then, below it, a separate list with a single item. Press charges? I wrote it, circled it, drew a line through it, wrote it again. The question sat there like a third presence in the room, breathing. Madison came by with celebratory plastic champagne glasses and a new set of sheets. "You will not sleep on that old thing one more night," she declared, tugging plastic wrap like a magician. "Also, I took the liberty of buying a succulent. It's named Bob." "You named a plant?" "It looks like a bob," she said serenely. Then she squeezed my arm. "Whatever you decide about them, I'm with you." We opened the balcony door and let the cold air braid itself through the room. The city shone with 1,000 tiny decisions. Somewhere, a boat cut a silent line across the bay. I thought, not for the first time, about ritual. Rent due on the 1st, ramen on the 15th, my mother's voice brightening at the sound of other people listening. New ritual. Sunday brunch with Madison. Tuesday dinner with Grandpa. Friday financial reviews with me, myself, and a spreadsheet that told the truth. Michelle texted me late, FYI. The court approved a structured restitution plan if you choose not to pursue criminal charges. It doesn't erase anything. It just names a path. I stared at those 3 dots pulsing like a breath. "Thanks," I wrote back. Then, not ready to decide. I powered up my laptop, opened a blank sheet, and titled it Marjorie's Ledger. It felt corny for 3 seconds, then necessary. I listed everything I had, everything I owed, everything still tangled. I added a column called Notes to Future Me, because one day I might forget how this felt. The weight of keys on my palm, the smell of lemon oil in a lobby that finally said my name without irony. The knowledge that love without boundaries is just a costume. Near midnight, my phone lit again. Mom. I stared until the light dimmed. Then, slowly, I typed a message. "I'm not ready to talk. Please do not call. I'll reach out if that changes." I hit send and put the phone down face up. My chest felt raw, but the decision made a small, steady space inside me, the kind of space where air could move. The apartment clicked and sighed around me like it, too, was settling into its real life. I closed the sliding door and walked back to the laptop. The cursor blinked in an empty cell, infinitely patient, not judging, just waiting for me to decide the value of things and what to call them. I began to type. 2 years passed. The city outside my window changed colors, tenants rotated in and out of neighboring buildings, and the skyline's heartbeat kept time with mine. I was no longer the girl who cried over a trust fund stolen in silence. I was Marjorie Calder, founder of a modest but thriving design consultancy in Soma, with 3 employees, a waiting list of clients, and a small brass plate by the door that read, Calder Studio. Every cent earned, tracked, and understood. Every decision mine. Grandpa and I had dinner every Thursday, usually in his library, surrounded by the quiet authority of old books and the faint scent of pipe tobacco. He wasn't supposed to smoke anymore. Michelle joined us sometimes, bringing printouts of my investment portfolio. "You've learned fast," Grandpa said one evening, tapping a column. "Your parents could have used half your sense." "They're paying restitution," I said quietly. $500 a month. He nodded. Symbolic, but it means they haven't given up completely. We both knew he could have pressed harder, seized everything. He didn't, maybe because justice without mercy can turn sterile, and sterile things don't heal. Madison was still my anchor. She'd moved into a bright 1-bedroom in Nob Hill after landing the banking job Grandpa's connections helped her secure. Every Sunday we met for brunch, the kind of ritual that built a small temple out of routine. She ordered waffles. I ordered coffee strong enough to stand a spoon upright. We talked about everything except the one subject always hovering at the edge of the table. Then, one gray Tuesday afternoon, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Marjorie, there's a Mrs. Victoria Calder here to see you." For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. "Send her in," I said before I could change my mind. Mom stepped through the doorway like someone entering a church she no longer belonged to. She looked older. Her hair, once meticulously dyed honey blonde, was streaked with gray. No jewelry, no designer bag. Just a simple coat and a folded envelope clutched in both hands. "Marjorie," she said. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. "You look well." "I am." She nodded, then looked around the minimalist office. "Your grandfather always said you had an eye for composition. I see he was right." Compliments had always been her currency. Now they sounded like an apology, printed in lowercase. "What do you want, Mom?" I asked, calm, but my throat felt like glass. She took a breath. "To apologize, properly this time." I raised an eyebrow. "You did that before. Voicemails, letters through lawyers, remember? This is different." She set the envelope on my desk. "Our therapist said we should write it all down. Every lie, every dollar, every excuse. So we did. It's all in there." I stared at the envelope. "You think paper fixes theft?" "No," she said, "but sometimes writing the truth is how you stop lying to yourself." Her hands trembled. "We destroyed our relationship with you for money, for status, for a life that wasn't ours. We told ourselves it was for you. It never was." She looked up, eyes red but steady. "I know you might never forgive us. I don't deserve that, but I needed to say it to your face." There was a pause. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the wall, the kind of sound that usually disappears until you need something to fill silence. "You were going to flee to Costa Rica," I said softly. She nodded. "Yes, we thought we could outrun the shame. We were wrong." "How's Dad?" "He's working. Insurance office, 9 to 5. He eats dinner at the table every night, pays bills on time. We take the bus." She smiled faintly. "We cook now. Rice, beans, things that used to feel too plain. It's strange how good plain can taste when it's honest." I wanted to hate her, but the woman in front of me wasn't the one who had laughed over caviar while I rationed instant noodles. She was smaller, humbled, painfully human. "Are you asking me for something?" I finally said. "No, just hoping someday we can talk again. Maybe dinner, maybe not." "I'm not ready," I said. "I might never be." She nodded, tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. "That's more than I deserve. Thank you for seeing me." When she left, the envelope sat between my keyboard and the coffee mug, an accusation and an invitation at once. It took me a full hour to open it. Inside were 12 handwritten pages, half hers, half my father's, alternating like a duet played on regret. They'd listed every purchase, every withdrawal, every justification. The handwriting faltered halfway through, like even the pen couldn't bear to finish. The last line was Dad's. "We used your money to feel powerful because we were terrified of feeling small. We're learning to live small now. It's quieter, but it's real." I folded the pages back into the envelope and placed it in my drawer. I didn't know if I'd read them again. Maybe forgiveness is less about reopening wounds and more about acknowledging that they've closed unevenly. That evening, I had dinner with Grandpa. I told him about Mom's visit. "What do you think I should do?" I asked. He sipped his soup, thoughtful. "You already did it. You listened without letting her rewrite history. That's all Grace owes the past." "Have you forgiven them?" He shook his head. "No. They stole from my granddaughter. But I've lived long enough to know that holding anger too long is like clutching hot coals. It burns you more than them." After dinner, I drove home along the Embarcadero, the city lights reflected in the water like a heartbeat stretched thin and bright. My apartment was warm, alive. The same keys that once felt like evidence now rested on a small ceramic dish by the door, sunlight painting their edges gold in the mornings. I picked them up, ran my thumb over the grooves, then set them down again. Proof that the lock had changed, and so had I. Later, Madison called. "So?" she asked. "How was it, the great apology tour?" "I don't know," I said. She looked real. It was strange. "She's still your mom," Madison said softly. "But that doesn't erase what she did. You get to define the distance." "I know. I'm proud of you, Marjorie, for not letting their brokenness rewrite your story." "Thank you," I whispered. After we hung up, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My spreadsheet was still open from that morning's review, numbers marching in perfect rows, a map of my own making. I added a new line at the bottom. "Lessons earned, priceless." It was corny, but it felt right. Outside, the city breathed. A ferry horn echoed over the bay, low and certain. I closed my eyes and thought about everything I'd kept and everything I'd returned, the money, the apartment, the illusions, the anger. I realized they were all forms of inheritance, just not the kind you expect. When I opened my eyes, I felt something that wasn't quite forgiveness, but might someday grow into it, like a seed dropped in winter soil, biding its time. And for the first time in years, I let myself believe that being loved wrong doesn't mean you're unlovable. It just means you learn to love yourself right.